Tubra subdivision of the MESAM have been finally released. The information was confirmed to us by the mayor for Tubra in a telephone interview. Most of the mothers, above 50, are said to be in need of medical attention. And a lady whose name we got as Kwisu Wanfu Clarice Renette has finally been buried after her corpse stayed at their low-term mortuary in Bonamusadi, Yerin Douala, for over 2 years. This was as a result of a long-standing conflict between her only son and the lady's husband. Viewers, those are our major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Welcome back, viewers. It's always a pleasure being with you every 6 p.m. for the news in the English language. In Douala, we begin with these human interest stories. One of the biggest carpentry workshops with materials worth millions of francs CFA have been ravaged by a fire incident which occurred at Cité de la Paix here in Douala. That was early today. Our reporter Mala Glory talked with a witness and put together this report for the news.
These wild flames has just put down a makeshift carpentry workshop, and property worth millions of francs CFA was destroyed. The fire started in the early hours of Thursday in the shop, which is said to be one of the largest carpentry workshop in the Cité de la Paix neighborhood, Douala 3 subdivision. We got up this morning with people running here and there. We were informed that there was a fire incident somewhere in the neighborhood. I rushed to the site just to witness this. The fire escalated to other shops where spare parts, tires, bags and other items are sold. The victims say they can't ascertain the cause of the fire as the shopkeeper was absent when the fire incident occurred. It was a big carpentry workshop, but we don't know the outcome of the fire. It was a makeshift building. That is why the result is so devastating. Firefighting brigade were alerted as the population also mobilized to set out the flames. No human life was lost. Meantime, victims continue to count their losses.
And now to this other human interest story told you viewers in the headlines that a woman whose corpse had stayed at the Aluche mortuary in Bonamusadi, Yerin Douala, for over 2 years now has finally been buried. This was after a long-standing conflict between the late woman's only son and her husband. Details in the report which comes up next.
Auquel il s'est levé en 2018-2019, demander la nullité de mariage. Il demande la nullité de l'acte de mariage.
It was total commotion within the premises of the Luchem Hospital's mortuary at Sable Bonamusadi. This young man, whose name we got as Kate Taga Sama Jester, is determined to remove the corpse of his mother, late Kwise Wafo Clarice Renette, whose corpse has been lying at the mortuary for over 2 years now.
Le monsieur a voulu participer pour l'autopsie, j'ai refusé. J'ai versé 500 000 ici pour l'autopsie. L'autopsie a été faite. Le divisionnaire de la PJ, le commandant, le commissaire de la PJ a levé qu'on retire le corps. Auquel
he explains to us that his mother was married to a certain Eric Wanjin Nodu for over 16 years. At the time his mother was dying, the said husband had filed for the marriage to be annulled.
En fait, ce qui fait problème, c'est que il voulait absolument inhumer sa mère sur mon terrain.
According to the husband, his late wife had lied to him about her father, her age and others. These lies caused him to go pay the late wife's bride price to another man who wasn't her father.
Le seul que ma mère a conçu, parce qu'il était le mari, il a participé en faisant se mettre devant pour avaliser. Il était question de rembourser 2 millions et poussière. Je les ai dit que je vais rembourser.
The late Clarice's family and her only son are accusing the husband of being behind the death of their mother and daughter. The son insisted he must bury his mother in the room where she lived and slept with her husband. He says the house belongs to his mother, an idea Mr. Wanji stood firmly against. After long hours and days of tension plus police intervention, the late Clarice Renate was finally buried at Lokbesu in a family house after staying in the mortuary for over 2 years with mortuary bills of over 6 million francs, which was to be paid.
Sad indeed. And now it is confirmed that the over 50 women who were kidnapped in Barber 1 in the Mesam division have finally been released. They were kidnapped allegedly by separatist fighters, and learning about the doubts of the local population and the release of the women abducted in Kejum Keku, Big Babanki in the northwest region, the mayor for Tuba, Tanjong Martin, confirmed their release. That was in a telephone interview with Equinoxe Radio and Television. He was speaking to us. That was today. Lucille Yengu Asia compound and comes back to the reaction of the moderator of the PCC and others who condemned the kidnap of the over 50 women in Baba 1.
The mayor of Tuba, Tanjong Martin, confirms the release of the 30 women who were adopted by suspected separatists in the northwest region last weekend. Tanjong Martin was speaking during the midday bilingual newscast on Equinoxe Radio.
Yes, according to what you were asking, those ladies have been released by those who captured them. And the problem is that the ladies have been tortured and they are lying in the hospitals all over around here. Most of them are not hospitalized due to the tortures they went through. But for their release, they are all released.
The elderly women were adopted while leading a peaceful protest against monthly taxes, 10,000 francs for men and 5,000 francs for women imposed on them by suspected separatists.
That morning when they were preparing for a protest march against the taxes that are levied onto them by the separatists, the taxes they have levied their taxes for livelihood. In order for somebody to survive, to live there, to school, to farm, to do business, have to pay taxes to the separatists. And these women decided to come out at mass to denounce this type of tax on them from stores that they are not convinced.
Their detention prompted the reaction of the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, Reverend Funky Samuel Foba, who in a communique condemned the forceful arrests, illegal detention, casting of aspersions, systematic torture, and dehumanization of women mothers of Kejum Keku, Big Babanki. The recent incident, according to the moderator, is one amongst the numerous separatist gory and horror acts of torture, killing, kidnapping for ransom. He qualifies it as a shameless act of crown cowardice, unacceptable and laughable drama for an imaginary might of a non-existent state. He therefore called for the unconditional release of these women and scrap of all forceful taxes, levies and extortions melted on the population in the name of a liberation tax regime. The PCC moderator invites the international community to note the crime in their records and bring charges on those who directly or indirectly are dehumanizing Cameroonians and abrogating human rights conventions. While Barrister Agbo Congo on his Facebook page reminds that abduction of civilian women not taking any active part in hostilities is clearly a war crime and a crime against humanity. To him, such acts are inhumane, senseless, and terrorizing the population. Also condemning the act, Simon Emin Moore, Mesam Senior Divisional Officer, in a press release signed May 23rd, promised to ensure that perpetrators of this barbaric act be arrested and brought before judicial authorities. Meantime, authorities call on the population to collaborate with administrative authorities, defense and security forces for the mission to be a success.
And now let's talk about hate speech and the Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism, analyzing the growth of inter-ethnic clashes, tribalism, xenophobia, and hate speeches across Cameroon. A political analyst, Dr. Nick Nguayam, blames it on the dormant National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. He qualifies the creation of the Commission as a wastage of resources with nothing realized since its creation. Innocent Aze tells us more.
It's on January 23rd, 2017, the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism also had as mission promotion of living together. With the growth of xenophobic and hate speeches, tribalism, and series of inter-ethnic conflicts across the nation, a feeling of a failed commission instills within Cameroonians.
The commission has failed, not just failed, but failed woefully. In business, you call it as wasted resources, because the objective was not very clear, and the people on the field, they have not met those objectives, they have not done their job. So you've invested money and resources into something that is yielding nothing. Those guys have been receiving a lot of money in billions for the past 3 or 4 years, and there's nothing to show for their job. Be it the bilingualism, they don't promote bilingualism in the civil service or in the private sector. Nowhere do you see them. But worst of all is that multiculturalism or living together.
Going by Dr. Nick's analysis, the Musonge Commission is working in the shadow and without mastery of its duties.
Technically, the bilingualism structure was supposed to bring solace, or is a medication to a problem we are facing in the country. But that problem was not well understood, the diagnosis was not properly made, so the wrong medicine was given and the wrong nurses were chosen. I mean, the whole nation has been boiling, little pockets of tension here, left, forward, and center. And the most shocking thing is you don't see the Multiculturalism Commission, you don't hear them, and so on.
Bad governance has been highlighted as a contributing factor to growing xenophobic and hate speeches and intercommunal clashes in the country, which should be diagnosed as quick as possible.
Our civil service is not very effective. You just nominate people, whether they have the skills to solve the problem or not, and we think that just because people have been nominated, things will be done. So this commission comes to tell us, and it demonstrates very clearly that the way we have been doing business is wrong. There is no accountability, there's no efficiency, and one gets the impression that people don't know their job descriptions. Whether the commission should be dissolved, I'm not the one saying it. I mean, if you go and ask them, they would say it should not be dissolved because they're having very good salaries, big cars, nice houses, and so on. But in terms of results, they are producing nothing. It's a bad investment, and I think what can best happen to it, you know, in business we have this thing you call stop loss. When you do something and you see that it's not working, just stop it. Just stop the loss, otherwise you leave it, you just continue losing money.
While Cameroonians say they have not felt the National Commission for the Promotion of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism in the country in terms of problems resolution, members of this Musonge institution beat their chest. A lot has been done.
In other news, we take you to the southwest region, where business persons in Kumba say the poor road network and rising insecurity accounts for the slow pace of economic activities along the stretch. Locals decry the fact that a distance which used to cost 1,500 francs as transportation now costs 5,000 francs. The situation is making life really difficult for the local population. Immaculate Fogwe now takes us to the Kumba highway.
It's not easy. The road will also take pass mark.
Business activities along the Kumba-Lum road has significantly dropped. For the past 8 years, vehicles have not been able to use this stretch of road due to its muddy state. Farmers living here have continuously seen their crops rot in farms due to their inability to transport their crops to the market. The few bikers who brave the odds by plying on the road often experience breakdowns.
But as it stands now, it is only a common die-hearted bike riders that are surviving in that road. Let me tell you, from Kumba to Lum, if you don't have to pay, you pay at least 5,000 francs. From Lumo, that usually was just 1,000, 1,500. They will take you, a bike will take you from Kumba to Lum. So while others are suffering, others are using like an advantage to make more money.
The bad state of the road has equally promoted high crime wave, given that bandits tend to attack persons who get stuck in the mud.
That those boys are always around there, and their target is when you enter into a mud that you cannot get out so easily. If that road is realized today, it will reduce the rate of crime, it will reduce our level of insecurity.
Aware of the endless suffering of the population, efforts are currently being made to make the road motorable.
We have made all plans and equipments in place. The work that is going on from Loom Junction to Mongo Bridge. Because of the bridge, the first work will end at that point. Then they will put another machines in Kombaye that will take from Kombaye to Mongo Bridge to link the stretch of road. So actually, I'm giving you a promise that by early June, the equipment will be put in place. Presently now, the equipment is under maintenance.
A sigh of relief for the population who say it will go a long way to boost economic activities and equally enhance development in the area.
And now today is being celebrated as Africa Day. The African Union is celebrating its 60th anniversary also this May 25, commemorating its achievements in the last 6 decades from the time it was known as the Organization of African Unity. Observers, however, hold that 20 years since it was transformed into the AU in 2002, the continental bloc faces more failures than successes. For me, Armstrong Sander is a man on that beat.
Challenges and prospects of the Organization of African Unity and the African Union at 60 cannot be effectively understood without a revisit to its founding objectives. The main objectives, according to its charter, are to promote the unity and solidarity of African states, coordinate and intensify their cooperation and efforts to achieve a better life for the people of Africa, safeguard their sovereignty and the territorial integrity of member states, rid the continent of colonialism, racism, racial discrimination and apartheid. On the form, today's membership of the Union clearly depicts the failure of the objective to safeguard the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of member states. Africa within the 60 years got disintegrated into 55 member states today from the original 32, the youngest being South Sudan in 2011. A discourse that started at the first Organization of African Union Summit in Addis Ababa in May 1963, while President Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana argued in favor of an immediate continental union, Julius Nyerere and others argued in favor of a gradual approach from a sub-regional level to a United States of Africa. The solidarity of African states has proven wanting, analyzed from their divergent views and positions on global issues, even on continental issues. Africans continue to face acceptance challenges and rejection in most African states. The African Union, however, deserves credit for the protracted struggle waged by Africans against imperialism and relentless effort made at the United Nations and elsewhere to eliminate colonialism. The struggle for democracy, good governance, human rights and fundamental freedoms continue unabated in most African countries. In prospect, the African Union, however, needs to intensify efforts to eradicate corruption, impunity, poverty, disease and ignorance in most African states.
And now let's talk about some Cameroonians who are excelling in sports. Harold Makudi, Brian Bemo, and Andre Onana have distinguished themselves in their different clubs as the European football season draws to an end. Harold Makudi won the Greece Cup and League title with AEK Athens. Brian Bemo won the best goal of the season during the Brentford Award night, and Andre Onana gets a second Italian Cup title. Smart Jikan Gabriel now tells us more.
A wonderful end of the season for some Cameroonian international who play in Europe. Harold Mukudi, who plays for AEK Athens in Greece as a central defender, ended the season with great realizations. Out of 30 matches, Harold Mukudi played 29 times, scoring 3 goals. Harold Mukudi helped his club to be crowned champions of Greece and winners of the Greece Cup. Harold Mukudi was voted as the most valuable player, MVP, during the Greece Cup final. He wasn't part of the squad that played at the FIFA World Cup in Qatar in 2022. Brian Buemo is another Cameroonian international doing well in the English Premier League. The Cameroonian international, who plays for Brentford, won the best goal of the season during the club's award night.
Wow, just wow!
Andre Onana could be considered as the man of the moment, enjoying his season with Internazionale of Milan in Italy. After qualifying his club to the final of the UEFA Champions League, Andre Onana helped his club, Internazionale of Milan, to pick up the Coppa Italia. Andre Onana's Inter defeated Fiorentina by 2-1 during the final played this Wednesday. It was a back-to-back win for Internazionale of Milan, who won the trophy last football season. Andre Onana still has another major trophy, the UEFA Champions League title, waiting for him come June 2023 against Manchester City.
Great for flying the name of the country higher out of the continent, let's say so. Thank you so much, Smart, for that report, which brings us to the end of this edition of the news. Thank you, viewers, for always according us your time every 6 p.m. for the news in the English language. And don't go away. As usual, our programs continue in about 35 minutes. Sacha Lengoto will be in the studio for Equinoxe Soir, and the news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Bye-bye for now. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte. Ce samedi sur Equinoxe Télévision.
Ce samedi dans la bulle sur Equinoxe Télévision, la fierté culturelle.